Hey everyone, this is first episode of our JavaScript interview preparation series. In this series, I will cover the most important JavaScript questions asked in interviews with clear explanation, examples and real-world tips so that you can answer confidently. Today we are starting with the very first and most important question, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a high-level interpreted dynamic programming language. It's multi-paradigm, which means it supports object-oriented, functional, and event-driven programming styles. Let's break down. High level, that means you don't have to manage memory manually. Unlike the low-level languages, you can write code closer to the human language. The interpreted, JavaScript does not need to be compiled. The browser or engine execute it directly. Variable Dynamic variable can hold any type and type are determined at runtime. Let's give an example so we can understand better. Let x equal to 10. Now x is a number. The data type is a number. And x equals to, now we will assign into a string. So let's check the answer. If you try to console, it will give an hello. Just because it is a dynamic type language, it converted that type into string. Let's check. As you can see, it was showing the hello. Okay, the next thing is multi-paradigm. What does that mean actually? You can write object-oriented code using classes, object, or functional code using functions as a first-class citizen. Let's give an example for that multi-paradigm. Let's write a class person constructor as name, this dot name equal to name, and write a method that greet console.log hello I am this dot name. So when we try to create a object const person1 equal to new person and we give the name as John. So when we try to invoke that method greet, as you can see here, hello I am John. This is basically, we are talking about the multi-paradigm. This is basically for object-oriented code I am talking. The same thing we can have do for functional code and first class citizen. We'll go deep dive into one by one. Now next, there are many interviewers often ask like why JavaScript is so popular. It runs everywhere. JavaScript can run your browser, it can run your server using Node.js. It has full stack capability. Like nowadays people can use for front-end, back-end, mobile apps, desktop apps. Huge ecosystem is also like libraries and framework like React, Angular, Next.js, Node.js. Let's talk about some real-world apps. As you know, YouTube uses JS for interactive video controls. And like as you know, the Netflix also use the backend for Node.js for handling the servers. As most popular, we use Instagram. Instagram also use the React Native, which is behind the scene is JS only. Now we are using desktop. So in desktop, as you can see, this is a VS Code. VS Code is also built in JS. So JavaScript is everywhere. Now let's talk about how JavaScript actually works, engine and the runtime. So the engine, every browser has its own JavaScript engine. For example, Chrome uses V8 engine. I'm using the Chrome. It's basically behind the scene use a V8 engine. And Firefox uses a SpiderMonkey and Safari uses JavaScript core. So the engine takes your code, parses it and convert into the machine code so that computer can understand. and how that runtime environment, like JavaScript alone cannot do everything. For example, it cannot access file or make HTTP request by itself. In browser, the web API like fetch, DOM, set timeout are provide that the environment. Okay, so let's talk about one example. Here I am giving you. As you can see, console.log start, console.log end, and middle one set timeout was there. Pause the video and try to guess it out. What will be the first console and what will be the second and what will be the third console. Let's run it. As you can see, the start, end, and the inside timeout was showing. This shows the event loop in action. JS isn't single threaded, but asynchronous behavior is possible using the runtime environment. Okay, so next is difference between JavaScript and Java. There are many interviewers, they often ask, like, what is the main difference? The type of JavaScript and Java is an compile type and JavaScript is an interpreted type, as we discussed today what are interpreted and all things. And for data typing, like the JavaScript is a dynamic typing, as you already discussed today, that first we have assigned with number and the second we are already assigned with string, so there is no issue with JavaScript. But in Java we can't do like that. Java isn't static typing. So the second thing is execution, or we can say like we can run our JavaScript in browser or Node.js, but we can't run Java into our browser or something, so we need JVM for that. This is where we wrap up our first episode. Today we have covered what JavaScript really is, why it's so popular, how it's actually work under the hood, and even clear some common misconception. In the next episode, we are going to deep dive into the most asked interview topics, where, late and const plus hosting. Trust me, if you can explain this clearly in your interview, you are already ahead of most candidates. So if you found this video is helpful to you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I will see you in the next episode.